20A. Before we start, I need to read out the webcasting introduction. I would like to remind everyone that this meeting will be filmed live or recorded and uploaded to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. Therefore, by participating in the meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and to the possible use of those images and sound recordings. If any public speakers on MS Teams do not wish to have their image captured, they should ensure the video setting throughout the meeting is turned off and set to audio only. Members and public speakers are reminded to turn on their microphones before speaking and turn them off when they are finished. Thank you. Right, my name's Councillor Stephen Heather. I'm tonight's chairman. To my left, we have Alex Sadowski, Suki Dadwar and Yi Chung, all from the Planning Department. And joining us on Teams, we have Amanda Apcar, who's the legal advisor. To my right, I have my Vice Chairman, Alan Lyon. To his right is, from Democratic Services, Gary Woodhall, and Lou, that's coping with the webcasting. Thank you. Public speakers, you should have been briefed by Democratic Services before you come in. I remind you, you've got 3 minutes to put your case. Turn your microphone on when you start speaking and switch it off when you're finished. Thank you. Apologies for absence.
Thank you, Chairman. We have apologies tonight from Councillors Sharif and Bromwich.
Thank you. Do we have substitute members?
Chairman, Councillor John Whitehouse should be coming shortly to substitute for Councillor Sharif for the whole meeting. And I understand that Councillor Holly Whitbread will be here shortly to substitute for Councillor Matthews on items 10 and 11. And Councillor Lucas is here to substitute for yourself on item 10.
Thank you. Declarations of interest, members. I'll start by declaring interest, a non-pecuniary interest in item 10 as the ward councillor. Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chair. Likewise, ward councillor for item 10 and also portfolio holder for item 11. So when item 11 is heard, I'll leave the chamber. Thank you.
Councillor Bassett.
Thank you, Chairman. Obviously, I need to declare an interest in item 11, being the chairman of Qualis.
Any further declarations? No? Thank you. The minutes of the last meeting on pages 6 to 8, can I confirm that they are a true record? Agreed. Thank you. Right, that brings us on to our first item then, agenda item 7, which is EPF/0917/24, Richmond Farm, Parslow Road, Epping Upland, Epping CM16 6QB, on pages 9 to 20 of the agenda. And I believe Suki will be taking us through that.
Thank you. This application is seeking permission to regulate the existing use of the site for B8 and associated retention of an existing area of hard standing, security fencing and gates. This application was deferred from the last Plans A committee to allow for a member site visit, which took place on Thursday the 27th of March, and to allow for additional conditions to control the development to be added. The site is accessed from Parslow Road and includes land which forms part of the property known as Richmond Farmhouse. It's located 87 metres northwest of Parslow Road and west of Savoy Wood. The site's been taken out of Greenbelt within the current local plan. This slide shows a Google image of the site outlined in red. You can see to the west the tree buffer and residential dwellings. It's before members as more than 5 objections have been received, which are listed on page 13 and 14 of the agenda. They predominantly come from residents of Savoy Wood and Holmes Meadow. The concerns raised include loss of residential amenity through noise and light pollution and the use being out of keeping with the area. This slide shows the location plan. You can see the trees forming the buffer. This slide shows the existing site plan and fencing. The whole area of the site is covered by hard standing. A 2-metre high security fence in pressed aluminium profile sheeting surrounds the perimeter of the site. The entrance is a 2.5 metre high painted pressed steel profile sheet gate and tubular steel gates. Additional conditions added include a new condition 2, which restricts the use of the site for the storage of plant and machinery as specified in the application and for no other purpose, including any other purpose within Class B8. A new condition 3, which requires a submission of details of an acoustic fence. A new condition 5, which requires details of external lighting to ensure it does not have a detrimental impact on nearby wildlife. And an amended hours of use condition to limit the hours of operation between 9 to 5, Monday to Friday only. Thank you, Chairman. That's the end of my presentation.
Thank you. We have a public speaker on this item. It's Stephen Warby, who's objector. Remind you, sir, you have 3 minutes. Switch microphone on when you start and turn it off when you're finished. Thank you.
My objection is rooted in a history of profound disregard for the quality of life of the bordering residents of Savoy Wood and Holmes Meadow. It will also have a negative effect on the house values bordering Richmond Farm and will make it very hard to sell your house in the future. Past applications consistently failed to reflect the true activities on the site. This latest application is no different. There is no mention of jet washing the diggers, the cleaning of, maintenance of the diggers, including the use of air tools. Both these things mean more movement of the diggers, meaning more noise. The residents of Savoy Wood and Home Meadow were there first. We're not opposed to reasonable commercial activity, but the level of noise coming from the site is unacceptable at times for a residential area. This has severely impacted the quality of life, making it impossible to open your windows in the summer or enjoy your garden in peace. Now consider the potential for expansion. The current noise level are already unacceptable at times. Imagine the impact of intensified jet washing and maintenance activity if the business were to be expanded as the size of the hard standing allows. How many diggers did you observe during your site visit? Was there jet washing or maintenance in progress? I suspect not. And now, how many lorries would be arriving and departing the site were the site fully utilised? The application claims the site is well screened by trees. This is simply untrue. For half the year, these trees are bare. I urge you to consider how you would feel if this were happening next to your home. You have the power to make the right decision, and I hope you reject this application for residents of Savoy Wood and Holmes Meadow. Now I wish to just address the conditions proposed. How do you ensure us that it's only going to be used for storage and not jet washing and maintenance? The purpose of the proposed acoustic fencing should be of sufficient size and screen out completely what's going on that site. It should be made of wood, dark oak. It should be constructed before permission is granted. The restricted use hours must also include all other activities because noise is made by the jet washing. Robust enforcement mechanisms must be in place, and a breach of any of these conditions must result in immediate closure of the site. In conclusion, I urge you to reject this application or impose the strictest possible conditions. The residents of Savoy Wood and Holmes Meadow have the right to live in peace. Please do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. All time, sir. Members. Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, it's a difficult site. I was unfortunate. I didn't attend on the correct day for the site visit, but did actually go down today and was allowed to go in and have a look round. And I drove round as well to the Savoy Wood Road as well and sat there for some time listening and trying to take in the impact this could possibly have on the residents. And I take the objector's point. It's a very valid point that, you know, at the moment the trees are coming into leaf and it does provide, I would argue, adequate screening, but I can understand that during the winter when the leaves are fallen, that is going to be a different situation. I think in terms of some of the other comments made, I don't really fully agree with those. You know, the value of properties and stuff like that. You know, there is a large site there. This is one part of it. Obviously, we're only looking at this planning application, and I think, to be honest, the credit where it's due, the officers have done a very good job with the conditions that they've put in here. I think potentially on condition 3, it could be a bit firmer, really, in terms of the acoustic fencing. We're asking for, obviously, them to submit what they're proposing, but I wonder if we'd be in a better position to insist on a minimum specification. I was thinking potentially 4 metres high acoustic fencing, or 3.5, whatever the officers deem as being more sensible. But I wonder if that just firms that condition up slightly, because I don't want to be in a position where, you know, if approved this evening, it's then approved that only, you know, a 2.5 metre acoustic fencing, which won't provide any buffer really. I think in terms of the hours, we've been as firm as possible. You can't really stop businesses less than 9 to 5. I think that's more than reasonable, and obviously none at the weekend as well. So, while I take the point of the objector and the other objections that have been raised, I think fundamentally we're getting towards the right decision. I just wonder if the officer could comment on condition 3, and if there was a way we could just firm that up a little bit, please. Thank you.
Yes, so we could specify the height within the condition. So if you would like there to be a 4 metre height, then that can be a requirement of the acoustic fence. I mean, obviously, to demonstrate that it is acoustic, there should be manufacturer's details which give a performance value on the level of sound insulation that it will create. And we will consult our environmental health colleagues, and they can tell us whether that's acceptable or not. So, should I say 4 metres would...
Chair, if I could propose 4 metres, just to be clear on record, my rationale for that was actually looking at the height of the trees and sort of where the leaf started. So, you know, I think at 4 metres, we'll cover, even when there's, during the winter with as thinner leaf coverage, I think that would be suitable. So I'll propose that condition is amended.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sorry, you propose that, seconded? Yeah. Those in favour of the amended? Sorry, didn't...
Do they want to talk on the amendment?
Yeah. Councillor Cohen.
Hi, could we limit the amount of jet washing that goes on? Could we limit a time limit to it, or how many diggers that they could jet wash a day? Or is that possible?
Chairman, do any members want to talk on the amendment?
Yeah, the amended fence height.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
If we have a chance, sir, we'll come back to you. But with the greatest of respect, sir, you've had your 3 minutes. Thank you. We're discussing the...
I was just going to come on, just because I've spent literally the last couple of weeks with an acoustic technician on a building site. What would be good, not only to just document the height of the wall, but also the acoustic performance of it. So what we want to see is the noise that's performed in one particular point and where the houses are. We want to make sure that there is a adequate differential between the two, because it's all well and good putting up an oak wall, but oak won't have the same acoustic properties as a specific acoustic fence.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. That is actually within the text of that condition. It's just a height not being mentioned. Yes, come on.
Right. Thanks, Chairman. Just on the 6 months for the permission on condition 3, why 6 months? Why should it not be done immediately?
It's 3 months. Yeah,
within 6 months?
It's within 3 months.
Well, so what's the 6 months relate to? If we've got 6 months in there and then we've got 3 months,
Yeah,
okay.
the fence has got to be put up within 3 months. What we're saying is, do we want stipulate a minimum of a fence 4 metres high?
Yes, that's been agreed. Yeah.
Right, we've agreed that.
Yeah, so within 6 months, it's got to be agreed, and then after it's been agreed, within 3 months, they should install it.
Yeah, well,
So we're actually looking at 9 months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So do you
that's-
want to shorten the period?
Yes, please.
So how long would you want? 1 month?
Chair, if I may, I was just going to make that point. Again, we certainly can't approve this and subject residents to 9 more months potentially of disruption.
That's exactly
I think the only way this can be approved this evening is with adequate acoustic fencing, and that needs to be done as soon as possible. So if that can be, 1 month for design, 1 month for erection, then I think that's a reasonable timescale for everyone to work to, and then obviously that's a maximum of 2 months from the decision made this evening.
Right.
So I'll propose that as an amendment to condition.
And seconded by Councillor Bassett. So all those in favour of that amendment, please show.
Agreed.
Thank you. Did you want to come back?
No, that was right. So that's
Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you to Councillor Matthews for raising the concerns that remain on the site. And I think we've made some progress with the 2 amendments that have already been made. This is a site that sort of splits between 2 areas, and that's the difficulty. You've got the Harlow side and the Epping Forest side, and the Harlow side has been suffering for many years. And the sooner we can, what we have to give them some certainty over it is enforcement. If this fails to, actually control the site, where is the enforcement level going to be? That's what we need to be really sure about here. So I appreciate all the amendments, but we need to be ready to enforce.
Can I raise it?
Yeah, okay.
Yes, Chairman. I'm just wondering, because the resident made a point about the expansion of the site. Can we limit the site to what the current area is and avoid any potential expansion to...
So the red line of the site limits the area of the site, so if they go any further than
Microphone.
the red line of the site limits the size of the area in which the use can take place. However, you may want to look at the number of diggers stored on the site as a way of controlling it. If you would want to. Alternatively, also the neighbour has raised the jet washing. You may consider whether you would want the jet washing use, because the use is actually just for the B8 storage, and you may want to limit the jet washing activity as well.
Yeah, can I clarify that? That's condition 2, yeah? That premises shall only be used for the storage of plant and machinery as specified, and for no other purpose.
Yeah.
Does that include jet washing and maintenance?
I think it would be clearer if we added it as another condition, just for the avoidance of doubt.
Right, thank you. Councillor Matthews?
Excuse the pun, Chairman, but I think we are getting into muddy waters if we start trying to dictate what can be washed, what can't be washed, and if we go down different machinery, because, from what I saw today, there was quite a wide range of sized machinery. So, if you turn around and put a number on it, you could end up with, 10 20-ton machines would fill up the space, the same as 50 one-ton machines, So it would be very difficult to try and impose that. I think in terms of jet wash, I think potentially the only thing we could go down with conditions on that is potentially a timing. So you say, no jet washing can be done after 2 p.m. or something like that. So, or perhaps members might think it's better to not do anything before 11 a.m. or, I think maybe that would be a reasonable way forward. I don't think you're going to be able to sort of say absolutely no jet washing at all. I think I'd struggle to support that personally, but I think there could be some sensibility around timing. Obviously, if residents, we've said they can't work past 5 o'clock, but equally, I'm sure residents probably wouldn't want jet washing at 9 a.m. or at 5 p.m. So maybe that's something members might want to look at.
It's more likely the machine's being washed off in the evening rather than the morning before they went out, I would have thought.
With that, I do understand where this council is coming from. Location of the jet wash, right next, the nearest point it can be to the people living there.
Right.
Why isn't it over the other side?
Thank,
Then have restricted hours.
right, thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Right, a very valid point, well made. Can we condition that the jet washing takes place at the furthest point of the site, although obviously it's going to be restricted by the size of the machines and moving the machines around, which is going to create more noise. Limiting the hours, I think, has got to be the easiest way round it. So what hours would you propose then, Councillor Matthews?
I mean, I think it would be reasonable for everyone if you sort of did an hour after start time and an hour before. So say 10, like they can only jet wash between 10 and 4. So, you know, I think for me that seems reasonable, but maybe other members have got another opinion. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're proposing between 10 and 4. We're second for that? Yeah.
Is that reasonable?
Those in favour?
Agreed, Chair.
Thank you.
Can I just confirm, is that a new condition or are we amending condition 2?
That's an amendment to condition, well, it's actually an addition to condition 2 that no jet washing will take place between, jet washing will only take place between the hours of 10 and 4.
So it's an amendment to the adding to condition 2.
Thank you, sir. I've given you fair leeway. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate your concern, sir, and I appreciate the situation. Please, if you don't stop, I'll have to ask you to leave. Thank you. Right, the opposite recommendation before us is to approve the conditions subject to the 106 legal agreement and subject to the amended conditions. All those in favour, please show.
Five, Chairman.
All those against?
1, Chairman.
Abstentions?
1, Chairman.
Thank you. Therefore, that application is approved.
As amended.
As amended. Thank you. Right, item 8, which is EPF 1574/24, 6 Tewkesbury Close, Loughton, IG10 3NT. Due to constitutional issues following a site visit, this application will now be heard by Planning Committee B. So that's off of our agenda. Thank you. So then we move on then to item 9. Have we a speaker from?
Chairman, the Town Council are not here, so under the scheme of delegation, this application now gets referred back to officers for decision.
Thank you. Members are happy with that? That's now been referred back to officers as the Town Council have failed to attend. Which then brings us on to agenda item 10, which is EPF/2173/24 Days Farm, Lippets Hill, Loughton, IG10 4AL on pages 42 to 56 of the agenda. And Alex will take us through that. Oh, sorry, yes, we've got to do all that, haven't we? Because I've got to go as well. It's all got to go. It's musical chairs. Sorry, I have to go because I'm the ward councillor. If I can invite Councillor Bassett up to take the vice chair's place. Yes, I've got musical chairs. And obviously you've got to ask Holly and Jodie if they've got any declarations of interest. Because they're substituting for them and them. That's it, yeah.
take, what do you want? You want your agenda? Do you want your sweets? No. Can I eat them? Okay, members. Has Councillor Heather's already read the description of agenda item 10. I won't repeat it, but I will ask Councillor Whitbread and Councillor Lucas, have you any declarations of interest?
No declarations from me.
None from me either.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll hand over to Alex Sadowski, who will present this application.
Thank you, Chairman. So this is the presentation for item 10 on your agenda, application reference EPF/2173/24 at Days Farm, Lippets Hill, Loughton. The proposal is for the construction of a single-storey dwelling with associated woodland management and sustainability enhancements. The site is located within the Greenbelt, outside of any defined settlement boundary. The site is an irregular-shaped parcel of land measuring 1.9 hectares in size and is currently young woodland. There is an existing bridleway which runs along the western boundary of the site in a north-south direction. And you can see that along that, in that right-hand side, there's a gap between the trees. That's the location of the bridleway in question. The nearest residential properties are Willow Farm to the south, Days Farm, which is a complex of farm buildings which lies to the south-west, and Brackenwood Lodge, which lies directly to the west. The access to the site is directly from Lippets Hill itself. The most important trees on the site are the veteran or near veteran trees, which are protected by tree preservation orders along the perimeter of the site. So the proposal is for the construction of a new dwelling within an area which is currently woodland. The existing bridleway is shown in yellow on the right-hand image. The proposed dwelling would be a 5-bedroom, 10-person unit with an access from the existing private drive. The scheme includes a woodland management plan and a number of sustainability and infrastructure enhancements. These are all set out within the report accompanying you tonight. Also within the report, the applicant refers to paragraph 139 of the National Planning Policy Framework, which states that which refers to schemes, particularly in relation to design, and says that the scheme needs to be refused unless it is of outstanding or innovative design which promotes high levels of sustainability or helps raise the standard of design generally within an area, so long as it fits in with the overall form and layout of its surroundings. The applicant has put this forward as a very special circumstance to justify the proposed development. A summary of the proposed sustainability and ecological enhancements are set out within the committee report. Officers are of the view, however, that the proposal would not accord with this paragraph and the development of the site, which is currently woodland with no above ground built form, would be inappropriate development in the Greenbelt. The change of use of 1,800 square metres of woodland into a house and garden will result in a domestication of the countryside. And a large tract of woodland, as a result, would be host to built form and associated domestic paraphernalia. This would not fit in with the rural green, undeveloped nature of the surroundings, including Epping Forest and Aldergrove Wood. In conclusion, the proposal would be inappropriate development in the Greenbelt, harmful to the openness of the Greenbelt in both spatial and visual terms. Substantial weight is given to any harm identified to the Greenbelt. Additionally, the site is considered to be in an unsustainable location. Future occupiers would be reliant on private cars to access day-to-day services and facilities. The further reason for refusal relates to the Epping Forest Special Area of Conservation, and at this stage there is no legal agreement in place to mitigate the impacts the proposal would have in respect of that reason. And finally, the officers consider that there are no very special circumstances which outweigh the totality of harms identified to justify the proposed development. So on this basis, the application is recommended for refusal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have two speakers on this one. The first speaker is Phil Parkin, and if you switch your microphone on, and you have 3 minutes, which will be timed. So carry on.
Perfect, thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm here before you today to strongly oppose the proposed development at Days Farm, Lippets Hill. The application not only threatens the integrity of our greenbelt, but also contravenes with multiple national and local planning policies designed to protect our countryside, biodiversity and communities. The national planning policy framework is clear. Greenbelt land should only be developed in very special circumstances. The proposal fails to meet that threshold. First and foremost, it damages the openness of the greenbelt. One of the key purposes of the greenbelt land is to prevent urban sprawl and to preserve rural landscapes. The introduction of a large dwelling and an access road, which is across a bridle path, and associated infrastructure will result in permanent and irreversible harm to the greenbelt. Second, this is inappropriate development under paragraphs 147 and 149, which state that new buildings in the greenbelt are generally considered harmful unless they meet strict exemptions. This development does not qualify under any of those exemptions. Third, the applicant claims that sustainability and biodiversity gains justify this development. But let's be clear, cutting down trees, disrupting wildlife habitats, and constructing a large new build is not sustainability, it's greenwashing. The Epping Forest Land District Local Plan, reinforces these points. Policy DM4 states that development in the greenbelt should only be permitted if it preserves its openness and meets an exceptional need. This application does not. Policy DM3 prioritises the protection of ancient woodland and key biodiversity areas, yet the proposal will destroy natural habitats. Beyond this, let's talk about traffic and safety. The site is accessed by narrow country roads, which then go onto a bridle path, where we have cyclists, walkers, horse riders, and lots of, children doing D&V. Let's not forget the visual impact of this. The proposed development will clearly be visible from multiple public footpaths and viewpoints, fundamentally changing the rural character of the area. So I ask the committee, if we approve this today, what precedent are we setting? If this development is allowed, what is stopping the next one and the one after that? The application is in clear conflict with planning laws and policy. It does not serve a genuine public need, and it offers no justification strong enough to outweigh the harm it will cause. I urge you to reject this application to protect our greenbelt, uphold our planning policies, and ensure we do not open the floodgates to further inappropriate development. Thank you all.
Thank you. We also have the applicant's agent, Scott Kyson.
Thank you, Chair, members. I ask you carefully to consider and support our proposals. This application, contrary to the objector's comments, has 3 separate conforming pathways to consent, each of which have been complied with. The first being paragraph 84E of the MPPF, which supports new homes in the countryside, including those in the Greenbelt, where they are of exceptional design and significantly enhance their immediate settings. The scheme does exactly that. It significantly enhances what is a dying woodland, which is acknowledged by Epping Forestry officers, and it has been reviewed by 3 national design review panels where it has been deemed to be of exceptional design. The second policy route, grey belt, and not our preference, but this is now government policy and the site qualifies. This is not a subjective assessment, and it is based on Epping Forest's own greenbelt assessment, and Lippets Hill being a sustainable location where over 20 new homes have been consented and built in the recent years. The third policy route, and the route that was agreed with officers at pre-application, is very special circumstances. A route that does not set planning precedent, and in this case, very special circumstances are numerous and substantial. The most sustainable home in the UK, constructed almost entirely of plant-based materials, no concrete, no plaster, no plasterboard. using 400-year-old Essex oak framing techniques and locally sourced materials. The pioneering use of hemp, one of the most sustainable crops in the world. A nationally significant exceptional design entirely concealed within the woodland and no impact on the openness of the greenbelt. 4 acres of dying woodland regenerated, resulting in 1,000 tonnes of additional carbon absorbed and 2.5 million gallons of rainwater runoff retained. Biodiversity exceeding policy by 50%. Bridleway resurfacing, improving connectivity between Lippets Hill and High Beach. Power infrastructure upgraded and overhead lines removed, transformers and pylons removed, a major enhancement to the openness of the greenbelt and providing energy security to the local settlements. The Woodland Management Plan has been offered to the Council via a legally secured Section 106, which would be tied to the occupation of the home. This is possibly the first scheme in Epping that would deliver a net positive impact on the Epping Forest SAC. We can spend our lives encouraging people to embrace sustainability, but to make meaningful impact and change, we must take a leap ourselves and set a positive precedent for others to follow. Lastly, this is a scheme 2 years in the making. We have been through pre-app process, 3 national DRPs, and collaborated with leading experts on sustainability and carbon sequestration. We have presented to the Town Council, who gave their support, the local school, who gave their support, and numerous residential groups who gave their support. We have gained support from the British Horse Society and the Essex Bridleway Association. Other than a small number of objections, this scheme has received overwhelming support from everyone that has taken time to consider it, and I sincerely ask you to give it your support. Thank you. I'm the applicant and the agent, so if there's any questions, I can answer them.
Thank you very much for that. Okay, it's over to members, and we have 2 ward councillors. So, Councillor Heather, Councillor Matthews. Councillor Matthews.
Thank you, Chairman. Really interesting one, this. When it first was brought to my attention, I sort of really thoroughly looked through this and then was very surprised by the report given to us by officers to see a recommendation for refusal. I really sort of looked at this, looked at the design and the qualities around the sustainability, and thought to myself, this is a no-brainer, really. And knowing the area well, I think it can be very misleading when considering woodland. Woodland's a very broad term, and you know, if you look at, I'm looking at an image in front of me now on Google Earth of that block of land as recently as 2010 is literally a field. You know, it's not established woodland as we may have in our minds. You know, 100-year-old oak trees. Those are on the boundary that the officer has highlighted have all got TPOs on and have been protected. You're really talking about scrubland that has sort of progressed on as is in very, very early stages. So I think it's important that members have that in mind, because, you know, often when we're talking about Epping Forest and we're thinking about protecting our green belt and the woodlands, I think we have a different image in our mind to what is on the ground there. As far as reasons for and against, I completely understand the objectors' points is raised, and I think they're very valid ones. You know, we fight very hard to protect the integrity of our green belt in this district. It's the single most important thing to this council as far as planning is concerned. And I think there's always concern about setting a precedent and you know, leaving a gateway for others to follow, and that does cause concerns for me. But that's why when I look at this, I really think it just wholeheartedly falls into the very special circumstances. I mean, reading through the details of the project, and you know, whether it achieves this or not, it will be seen. But you know, if we're talking about potentially the most sustainable home built in the entire UK, well, if that isn't a very special circumstance, I don't know what is really. I was trying to just jot them down, and maybe the planning officer could just reiterate them again. You said in paragraph 139, it was design outstanding innovative. Could you just repeat what that was, please? Sorry, 1 second. Chair, while the officer's just finding that, if I may continue, you know, there was mentions in the chamber this evening around grey belt I understand the applicant has said that's as it's identified from Epping Forest, so I'd like some clarification from planning officers if it does fall within grey belt. For me personally, I don't think that would be a suitable reason to approve this, but I really do find myself in a position where if we're not supporting this level of innovative sustainability, then what are we doing? I mean, from my point of view, if we're looking to protect the green belt and this almost becomes the bar, you know, we're setting the bar so high that in terms of if other people are looking to develop in the green belt, you know, you're talking about the most sustainable house potentially in the UK being the bar. So, you know, we don't want to set a precedent, but if we are setting anything, we want to set that bar at this level from my point of view. As the officer got the points on if you could just reiterate to paragraph 139, please.
So, thank you, Councillor. So, specifically in relation to paragraph 139, the starting point of that paragraph says planning permission should be refused unless, and then it goes on to part B, which is where this particularly relates to, states that the scheme would be of outstanding or innovative design which promotes high levels of sustainability or helps raise the standard of design more generally in an area, as long as they fit in with the overall form and layout of their surroundings.
Thank you for that. And those are sort of 4 points there that, I mean, literally, if this doesn't tick those boxes, I mean, we're talking about outstanding innovative design. If members have looked it through properly and looked at the levels that have been, the sort of the depth of thought that's gone to the design of this, then I'd say it ticks that box. In terms of promoting sustainability, you know, I can't see anything that sort of disputes with that. So I find myself thinking that, you know, this really does tick all of those boxes. I know we received a supplementary to the agenda quite late on this afternoon, so I hope all members have had the chance to see that, because that does detail several of the objections that have been withdrawn, because that was a concern of mine when I was reading through. Initially there was quite a few objections, but it appears that quite a few of those have been addressed now. So yeah, I mean, I won't take up much more of members' time, but I think in this instance, we should really be supporting this, and I wouldn't be supporting the officer's recommendation on this occasion, and I would be supporting it on the basis that it does provide exceptional circumstances in the green belt. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Heather.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank Councillor Matthews for putting it very well. Unfortunately, I totally disagree. It is the green belt. It's not grey, it's not brown, it's not anything else, it's green. It's inappropriate development within the green belt as far as I'm concerned. There is, it's an innovative design. I think, yes, it's marvellous. It's a sustainable building. It's made with all the best materials that are eco-friendly and everything else. But it's still a house in a field that has now self-seeded itself to become a woodland. Those trees, yes, it's not a dying woodland. It just takes a little time for the big trees to actually establish themselves and take over. They're predominantly oak trees. They've been there for 15 years. An oak tree takes at least 70 years before it's worth doing anything with. So, no, to say, yes, go ahead, because this house is made from hemp and everything else, and it's brilliant. Don't get me wrong, I'm not knocking the idea of it. I think it's marvellous. But I think it's in totally the wrong place. You can't just, as Councillor Matthews said, 15 years ago, that was a meadow. It was cattle being grazed on it. It was being mowed. That usage stopped. It went back to nature. And now we're saying, well, that's all right, and we can clear that and we can put this sustainable house. An innovative design. In whose eyes? Where's the benchmark? How do we say, well, that's a good idea? Yeah, that's. I don't think it is exceptional circumstances, and I don't think it's appropriate development in the green belt. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you very much. Can we get a comment from the planning officer on the sustainability issues? Is it possible to give us some? an update on that?
Specifically in relation to the sustainable development issues, Chair, or the sustainable credentials of the scheme?
The credentials of the scheme.
Okay, so, I mean, in terms of the sustainable credentials of the scheme, the applicant has provided a number of documents supporting their submission. These are sort of summarised within the report. Part of this is relation to carbon sequestration. Part of this is in relation to using locally sourced materials, not using concrete, using hemp, using traditional timber construction methods. You know, I think, you know, in terms of what we consider to be a sustainable method of construction, is probably open to interpretation, if I'm being honest with you. I mean, do you want me to come back on the other?
Yeah, on the other point. On the actual, yeah.
So in terms of going to the first 3 points raised by Mr. Kyson, I mean, in respect of whether the site's in the grey belt, obviously members are aware that the grey belt was introduced in the NPPF 2024 version in December. Officers are of the view that the site is not grey belt. That is because we consider that the land does have value insofar as meeting obviously purposes A, B and D. Obviously it's not particularly purpose D, because that is in relation to historic towns, but we believe that the site, albeit, you know, an individual site in itself, if we cumulatively add all these parcels of land together, then the land between the two towns will eventually disappear. Notwithstanding whether we consider it to have a role in meeting purposes A, B and D, for it to also be considered grey belt land, it also needs to meet sustainable development, and that generally is considered to be development that meets an economic objective, a social objective and an environmental objective. In some respects, that basically we're looking at putting development in the most well-connected locations, which are generally your towns, your villages with facilities. So we're limiting car trips in particular for people to visit shops, you know, schools, nurseries, etc., doctors' surgeries. So that's where the you know, national and local planning policies are seeking to push development, and that's where through the local plan we look at putting development in the most sustainable locations. Secondly, you know, it's a new dwelling and the council has a 5-year land supply, so it's not providing development that the council has a need for. So that is why we believe that it is not grey belt.
Sorry, can I just add, it's not in a sustainable location. So whilst the paragraph 155 requires that it doesn't have a strong impact on the purposes A, B and D of the green belt, and in addition, we don't have a 5-year housing supply. The policy team have confirmed that we currently do have a 5-year housing supply, so that criteria isn't met, and the development is not in a sustainable location, so that criteria isn't met. So irrespective of meeting the 5 purposes, meeting the 3 purposes of containing land within the green belt, it's not in a sustainable. It's a house not in a sustainable location, and we've met our housing delivery test target.
Thank you. There's also on the agenda, the additional agenda, a reference to the FSAC, and it says it's this is included as a reason for refusal. Could you say anything about the FSAC?
Oh, sorry. We just haven't. Because it's been up for refusal, we haven't asked the applicant to enter into a Section 106 agreement. if you were to refuse it today and allow the applicant to overcome that reason for refusal, then we would work with them and process the 106 if that was the case, and that would remove that reason for refusal.
Okay. So, Councillor Kaufman first. Okay.
Chair, thank you. That all got really confusing there. For me, there's three reasons for recommendation of refusal on this report. The third one is now relevant because the third one is reasons to refuse because there isn't a section 106. Then we've received the supplementary agenda saying there is a section 106. So
no, there isn't, but there could be.
You would agree to,
you would agree to one. So and the applicant said that as well. We'll take it. So then that reason is no longer valid. So now we're basically down to two reasons. One being the officer is of the opinion that it isn't special circumstances, and can you just remind can you explain the second reason? Because I didn't understand that when I read it, please.
So the second reason is that it's not in a sustainable location for residential development.
So yeah, I mean, so basically, members are looking at two different reasons. Is it special circumstances or is it not? And is it in sustainable location? Obviously, the officers are saying it isn't in a sustainable location. All this talk about grey belt, I think, is pretty much irrelevant in this matter. I think it boils down for members whether they're of the opinion it is a very special circumstance or not. I've obviously voiced my opinion that I very much support the fact it's of special circumstance. My ward colleague has eloquently voiced his opinion that it isn't. So over to members, really. Thank you.
So, Councillor Kaufman.
Thank you, Chair. I think there's an awful lot of officer opinion which I think is a little bit dangerous at the moment and leaves us quite open to appeal here. Particularly, I feel quite upset about the fact that at the previous committee, both Councillors Whitbread, Holly and Chris, and I did our best to try and stop that house being taken down in Epping. And one of the reasons we were given that we couldn't stop that happening was because there was no 5-year housing land supply. So how all of a sudden is there a 5-year housing land supply? I'm not particularly comfortable that. I think there's a bit too much opinion here. We need some fact and some opinion.
Can we clarify the 5-year land supply issue?
Yes, so we've had direction from policy since the last committee advising us, and it's not public yet, but it will be very shortly, that the latest statistics of how many housing have been built for 2024 is we've achieved 75.3% of the target required, and therefore we're no longer a presumption authority. It's not published yet, but it will be very shortly.
They're doing a lot of damage to the heritage of the district when we're doing otherwise.
Sorry, your microphone's off.
Sorry, the mic's off. And we made quite a big move last week, with the fact that, or whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago, that site was totally cleared and we were left, as I say, we were bulldozed, I think. I felt bulldozed.
Sorry, can you confirm this was a different site, not this site?
This was a different site, but we felt bulldozed. And we've got an example now where we've got a scheme that's been thought out over 2 years. It's had a pre-app. Everything's been very well thought through. And we're trying to pick it to pieces on very, very, very loose points, I think. But I've spoken enough.
Okay. So, Councillor Whitbread.
Thank you, Chairman, and I have to say I do share Councillor Kaufman's frustration, and I think the residents of, I know we're here to talk about this application, but I think the residents of Woodland Grove in Epping would be furious if they heard the different advice from officers only 2 weeks later over an application which was very, very controversial. So I'm very frustrated to hear the contradicting advice there, and I will take this offline to have a separate conversation. But I do think that leads us open to challenge as well when we're making decisions at planning committees if we do have contradictory advice. So, yes, I'd like to put on my record my frustration around that. In relation to this application, I think it is a balanced decision due to the Greenbelt aspect and element, and I do hear the frustrations of Councillor Heather, but on balance, I will be supporting this application this evening. I have to say, I think it's probably one of the most beautiful designs, and I know beauty is subjective, but it is an excellent design. Having a look at the website of some of the other work that the developer has done across the country and its sustainability credentials, I think is very impressive. And I think this does merit exceptional circumstances. I think for a largely kind of disused piece of land to be turned into something beautiful and sustainable, which doesn't have a detrimental impact on the forest as well. I think we're talking about that kind of net zero impact on the forest. So it is balanced because of potential precedents and issues around the green belt. But I have to say that I would support this application this evening, and it is testament to the developer as well that he has gone through that long pre-application process, looking at the detail, and I have to say it's a very strong application. And I am also guided by the views of local people and local users of the area. So I think the testimony from the Horse Riding Association was particularly pertinent, but also the views of the parish council. And as we know, it's very rare for parish councils not to object to controversial applications. So I think there's been a good amount of consultation there. So as I say, overall, I think I will support this application this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Morgan.
I listened very carefully to what Councillor Matthews got to say and also Councillor Heather. But on balance, I think there are special circumstances, and I would like to propose we grant the application, and hoping I've got a second.
Thank you. Before we do, I think, can you turn your microphone off? Can we just hear from Councillor Lucas?
Thank you, Chairman, for that opportunity at the last moment. Before that recommendation, I, similar to Councillor Holly Whitbread, I've considered this on balance this evening, and it's very interesting to hear from two ward members with very contradicting opinions, and obviously we've had an objector and a supporter in the applicant here this evening. But this has gone through substantial consultation, and for Waltham Abbey Town Council, as Councillor Whitbread said, to actually support this application is quite rare, especially within the Green Belt. And I'm a horse rider myself. I see their concerns, I see the issues with the bridleways, but there's definitely been what I would classify as sufficient consultation, obviously going through the pre-application advice. And this is exceptional, as Councillor Matthews said. If we're setting the bar for what can be done in the Green Belt, I've seen much less sustainable developments approved within the Green Belt as to what's being decided this evening. So for those reasons, I will be supporting this application.
Thank you. Yeah, I think this is a balanced decision, and I think what we've got here is the potential loss of the green belt versus the development of a sustainable and quite interesting development. So I think first of all we need to take it to the vote whether we support the officer's recommendation.
Unless there's a seconder for Councillor Morgan's
Are we going to do that first?
Well, if it's proposed and seconded, then...
Okay, so Councillor Morgan, your proposal was?
I propose that we grant the application.
Okay, do we not need to?
About conditions. Conditions.
Yeah, then conditions.
We need seconder first.
So can we consider that seconder for that?
Councillor Kaufman.
You second it? Okay. Can we take that to the vote? All those that...
Well, are there any conditions?
The conditions. Are we happy to consider?
Oh, are we happy with the conditions that are listed? Or do we want to add any conditions? Sorry? 106 will follow. I'm sorry, sir, we're discussing this now. It's not open for your consideration.
To our benefit, he says.
It's to our benefit. Okay.
We offered, and I'd like to propose that the management of the woodland is secured under Section 106 as well.
Okay. Thank you. So,
I mean,
any other, all the others?
yeah, I mean, Chairman, normally in this situation we would have the standard conditions, hours of working, things like that. It's whether either the officers or the members feel there should be any additional conditions potentially added, because obviously members may want to have a debate or a vote.
Amanda has her hand up, so it's not whether she wanted to say something.
Sorry?
No. Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, Gary came in there quite eloquently. What we'd want with that is the usual conditions to be delegated to officers, and if members want to propose any at this committee, and also section 106 to be delegated to the officers as well.
Okay. So is everyone happy with the conditions that...
Don't forget to add the one on the management scheme.
The management scheme, that's already been identified. So the woodland management scheme will be added. Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Chairman. I was just interested, I think somewhere in the report was mentioned about, or the tree officers were saying about the TPOs. Would it be a condition for the TPOs to be put on the relevant trees?
Would there be additional TPOs? Is that what you're suggesting?
So there are trees protected on the site. So the tree officers have been out to the application site and they have assessed which trees are of amenity value and protected the relevant ones. The tree officers have also confirmed that should the application be recommended for approval, that the proposed scheme wouldn't have a harmful impact on those trees, subject to, tree protection, which is a standard planning condition which we can put on.
Okay, just one thought I had. Considering this is a 5-bedroom, 10-person house, do we have a clear identification of what parking on site is? Or is there just plenty of ground to park?
We can put a condition to say shall parking area. Sorry, Councillor. We can add a condition to define the parking area and not to park outside of that area.
Members, is that something you would like to include?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so yes, we could have that as an additional consideration. Okay, so is there anything else we need to vote on now, just that proposal?
No, Chairman, unless the members or the officers come up with anything. So we've got standard conditions for a normal development, plus Section 106 agreement to be negotiated with the applicant, and I think the applicant has offered woodland management as part of that, and we've got an additional condition to define the car parking area. So unless there's anything else the officers want to raise.
And the Section 106 on FSAC mitigation.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Section 106 is for the officers to negotiate with the applicant. The applicant has offered woodland management as part of the Section 106, so obviously the officers will negotiate other matters as part of the Section 106, unless there's anything that the legal officer that's online wishes to be considered.
No, that's agreed. That's agreed, Gary.
Okay, so can we vote on that? All those in favour of Councillor Morgan's proposal with the amendments?
Unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you very much.
No, we all should go round again.
That application has been approved.
Right, go to no, you've got to leave. Yes. You and Councillor Matthews need to leave.
Yeah, you've got to go.
Sorry, which one?
Sorry, the rules. I don't make them. No, I don't. I just have to enforce them.
Good try.
Yeah.
So we're okay. We're okay on the call. The call and still fast.
Yes. How many we got?
That's your one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
6, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, welcome back anyway. Brings us on to agenda item 11, which is EPF/2538/24. 180 to 181 Brooker Road, Waltham Abbey, EN91HT, on pages 57 to 80 of your agenda. And Yi, I believe you're taking us through this one.
Yes, Chairman. It's not showing.
Just wait for it to load up.
Apologies, I'm waiting for the presentation to load up. Apologies.
I think it's screen 2. Yeah.
Right. Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. The application that's before you this evening is for the demolition of 3 existing buildings and to replace the existing buildings with a warehouse. It doesn't even want to move.
Minimise. Go.
Where am I? It doesn't work. So we've got the application site, as you can see, edged in red, where the existing warehouses are, and on the and there's Brookers Road on the east, so the west side, and then you've got the Cartersfield Road on the southern boundary of the site. Here we have this slide shows the existing building that's currently on the site, and there's 3 units there. Here we have a proposed site layout of the replacement units, and there's going to be 8 units within the warehouse, the new warehouse building. And here we have some more the proposed floor plans of the building, and above, within the building, there's a mezzanine floor where there'll be offices. And this slide shows the elevation of the proposed buildings, with the warehouse replacement building on the site. And here we have the site photographs. So the 3 slide shows the south elevation of the buildings, and these photos shows the existing access and the west elevation of the buildings. And this site photo shows again the rear elevation and some of the buildings within the site. So there's as members can see in the officer's report, there's no objections raised by any consultees. The new warehouse building will be in keeping with the surrounding area, the employment site, and also will be in keeping with the new developments that's to the south of the site also, that the warehouses has been recently replaced. The officer's recommendation is to approve the application subject to conditions and section 106 agreement on the site, and it's relating to the air quality and the work travel plan for the site. And that's it. That's the end of my presentation. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. We have one public speaker, and that's the applicant or the applicant's agent. Joining us on Teams, and that's Jennifer Courier. Are you there?
Yes, hi.
Hello. Yeah, remind you have 3 minutes, and
yes.
off you go.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm Jennifer Courier. I'm the Head of Development for Qualis, the applicant. We think the report speaks for itself and we welcome its recommendation. If approved, Qualis looks forward to building this development and providing high quality warehouse space in the area. We'd like to thank the planners for their hard work on this application, and we're here to answer any questions. I'm joined by my architect, James Greenway, in order to do so if need be.
Okay, thank you. Ward Councillor is Councillor Lucas.
Thank you, Chairman. I know Brook Road very well. I believe this particular building has actually been out of use for some time. It will be actually really good to see what's been proposed in use along Brook Road. Very pleased with the developments that have taken place and are looking really good down there. So it'll be good to bring this one in line with what's currently already been achieved. So thank you very much for what you're doing, and I would support the officer's recommendation.
Thank you. Members? Councillor Morgan.
Thank you, Chairman. I fully support the application. The new square metres is 2705 square metres. What was the existing buildings that were there? I know there's several buildings, but perhaps you won't be able to tell me probably because it's...
Sorry, Councillor, can you repeat that question? Sorry.
What was the square metres of the existing buildings that were there? The new building is 2,000.
I think there's a difference of 59 square metres.
Yes. On the report at page 58 of the officer report, there's an increase of 59 square metres.
Okay.
Thank you.
I've got a question. Just on the design of this particular warehouse, I believe they have solar panels and are fully sustainable. Could you just confirm that?
Apologies, Chairman. The plans doesn't show any solar panels. There's only roof lights on the building.
Can I just hear me? We do have PV on the roof. We have I don't think it is James Greenway from the architect. We have a full array of south-facing roofs for close-by PV cells, aiming towards an EPC of A+.
Okay.
Right, so we've got solar panels, yeah.
Yep, okay. Should we take it to the vote? Unless there's any...
Yep. Right, the officer's recommendation is to approve with conditions, subject to a 106 legal agreement. All those in favour?
Unanimous, Chairman.
Thank you. That application is therefore approved. Is there any other business?
No, Chairman, there is not.
Thank you. I therefore close this meeting at 2014.